A silver maple in a front yard gets topped every few years to keep it manageable. And every time the homeowner steps back, the job looks done. What they cannot see yet is that the tree they are trying to control has already started the process of failing. Pruning mistakes do not show up the week you make them. The tree keeps growing, the yard still looks maintained, but some of that growth is damage being built one season at a time. By the time you notice dead wood, a missed bloom cycle, or a branch that comes down in a storm, the cut that caused it happened years ago. I'm counting down 9 pruning mistakes I see in residential landscapes across the U.S., starting with the structural ones that look clean on the day you do them, and ending with the single mistake that is most likely running quietly in your yard right now. Mistake number 9. Lion-tailing your trees. If a tree crew ever offers to open up your trees by cleaning out the interior branches, that sounds reasonable, until you understand what they are actually removing. Interior branches are not filler. They carry weight. They divide wind loads across the canopy. When you strip them out and leave foliage only at the tips of long, bare branches, those branches become lever arms. Every gust of wind focuses torque at the attachment point with nothing in between to absorb it. Oak, maple, and elm trees treated this way are roughly twice as likely to lose a major branch in a wind event. That is lion-tailing. Strip the interior, leave weight at the worst possible place. The tree also loses its natural form. Interior branching is what gives a tree its silhouette and its strength. Without it, branch angles widen, the canopy looks sparse, and the whole tree becomes less stable every year. Correct canopy thinning means removing entire branches back to their origin point. You do not strip foliage off branches that stay. The result is a lighter canopy with fewer branches, not one full of bare ones. One thing worth knowing: apple, peach, and other fruit trees are actually meant to be opened in the center. Open center canopy lets light reach every branch, which improves yield. That is the right technique for fruit trees. It is wrong for shade trees and ornamentals. When a crew offers to open up your trees, ask one question first. What kind of tree is it? Mistake number 8. Topping trees to control height. Topping a tree to make it shorter feels logical. You want it manageable. What you get instead is a tree that grows back faster, denser, weaker, and now actually dangerous. Topping means cutting the main trunk or large branches down to stubs. Bradford pear and silver maple are the 2 trees homeowners top most often. Both recover fast. That speed is the problem. The stubs trigger water sprouts. These shoots grow straight up from the cut, sometimes 3 or 4 feet in a single season. They attach weakly to the wood below. In a storm, they do not bend. They snap. The wounds are also too large for the tree to seal. That opening stays exposed. Decay moves in. Fungal rot follows. The tree looks full again in 2 years and is rotting from the inside. The International Society of Arboriculture lists topping as one of the most destructive practices in tree care. Topped wounds can take a decade or more to close. If you need to reduce height, crown reduction pruning takes branches back to a lateral and keeps the tree intact. Mistake number 7. Pruning spring bloomers in the spring. Spring feels like the right time to prune everything. The yard is waking up. You have energy. And the plants look like they need a haircut. For about half your landscape, that instinct is correct. For the other half, it costs you an entire year of blooms. Forsythia, lilac, weigela, spirea, and azalea all bloom on old wood. That means their flower buds were already formed last fall. When you prune them in spring, you are cutting off buds that were months in the making. Not dead wood, not weak growth. Actual blooms. The window is tight but clear. Wait until the flowers drop. Then prune within the next 2 to 4 weeks. That gives the plant a full growing season to set new buds for next year. Not every plant works this way. Crepe myrtle, roses, and abelia bloom on new wood. You can prune those in early spring without losing a single flower. But you need to know which is which before you pick up the shears. Mistake number 6. Pruning too hard in the fall. A lot of gardeners were taught that fall is safe pruning time because the sap is down. That's half true, and the half that's wrong is the part that matters. Pruning tells the plant to grow. Cut a branch, and the plant pushes out new growth toward that wound. In September or October, that growth comes in soft and thin. It cannot harden before the first freeze. The plant spends energy building it, and the cold destroys it before it does anything useful. The deeper issue is not the sap. Just under the bark is the cambium, a thin band of living cells that seals cuts by building callus tissue. In late fall, it goes dormant, and a cut made in October can sit open for 3 to 4 months through winter. Prune in late February or early March instead. That is when the cambium is coming back online. The same weeks that maple sap runs hardest. Days warming while nights still freeze. That is when a pruning cut will close in weeks rather than months. Dead or diseased branches can come off any time. Everything else waits for late winter. Mistake number 5. Cutting into old wood on evergreens. With most plants, cutting back hard and waiting for recovery is a reasonable strategy. With arborvitae, boxwood, and yew, that strategy doesn't exist because those plants cannot recover from it. The green outer layer on these evergreens is not just surface coverage. It is the only part of the plant capable of producing new growth. Cut past it into the brown wood underneath, and that branch is done. Not slowed, not weakened. Done. This happens because arborvitae, boxwood, and yew carry very few dormant buds in their older wood. Most deciduous shrubs bounce back from hard cuts because their older stems hold abundant growth points ready to activate. These evergreens operate on a completely different basis. Cut past the living green, and there is nothing left to respond. The result is a bare gap in the shrub that stays bare. Nothing grows back from that section. There is no technique to fill it in, and no amount of waiting changes that. If the shrub has outgrown its space, that is a different problem. Hard cutting will not solve it. The right answer is replacing the plant with a variety built for that size. Emerald green thuja stays roughly 3 to 4 feet wide at maturity. Standard arborvitae can spread 10 feet or more. That difference matters at planting time, not after. The simple rule: stay inside the green. Maintain often. Never let it grow so large that cutting back feels like the only option. Mistake number 4. Pruning without knowing if your plant can bounce back. The 1/3 rule exists for a reason, but some plants in your yard will laugh at it and come back stronger, while others will barely survive half that. The difference is not about how hard you cut. It is about what is hidden under the bark. Certain plants carry epicormic buds, dormant growth points embedded in the wood itself. When a branch is removed or the plant comes under stress, these buds activate and push new growth from old wood. Species with dense epicormic buds, like Rosa knockout and Euonymus alatus, can be cut to the ground and come back fully. Willow is another example. Japanese maple and most conifers have almost none. Cut into old wood on a Japanese maple and nothing comes back. European foresters figured this out more than 2,000 years ago. Hazel, Corylus avellana, and sweet chestnut, Castanea sativa, are cut to the stump on 7 to 15-year cycles and grow back completely each time. The practice is called coppicing. Those trees are still standing. Before a hard prune, one question is worth asking. Has this plant ever pushed new growth from old wood after being damaged or cut back severely? If yes, it can likely handle the cut. If not, that is your warning. Mistake number 3. Leaving a stub instead of cutting to the collar. Leaving a little extra wood when you remove a branch feels like the safer move, like you're protecting the tree. You're not. You're doing the opposite. And the tree has no way to fix it. At the base of every branch is a ridge called the branch collar. That is where the tree builds callus tissue to seal a cut. Leave a stub, and the tree cannot reach past it. The stub rots, and that rot moves inward. Cut just outside the collar ridge, not flush against the trunk, because flush removes the collar itself. Leave it, and the tree does the rest. For any branch thicker than 2 inches, a single top cut creates a different problem. The weight tears bark downward before the blade clears. Use 3 cuts instead. Undercut 1/3 through the branch about 8 inches from the collar. Release the weight from above a few inches farther out. Then finish with a clean cut at the collar. ANSI A300 and the ISA both specify this sequence. Branches under 1 inch need only 1. Mistake number 2. Skipping tool sanitation and letting blades go dull. A dull blade doesn't cut, it crushes. And every crushed stem is a wound that won't close cleanly. But that's the smaller problem. The bigger one is what you're moving from plant to plant without realizing it. Fire blight and Phytophthora can transfer on a blade after a single cut. You carry both of them through the yard on the same shears you just used on a plant that looked off. Hand pruners and loppers need a wipe of 70% isopropyl alcohol, or a spray of Lysol after working on any plant that shows signs of disease. For hedge trimmers, spray the full blade length. The solvent breaks down plant residue more completely than wiping. For chainsaw work on trees with active fire blight or canker, run the chain through a diluted alcohol solution for 10 to 15 seconds before moving to the next tree. Skip the bleach. Regular use corrodes the metal. Sharpen hand pruners at least once per season. The sign they need it? You are pushing to get through a stem instead of just squeezing. That shift in effort is all the signal you need. Mistake number 1. Removing more than 1/3 of the plant at once. This last one doesn't look dramatic. You won't see the damage immediately. You might not see it for 2 years. But on this entire list, this is the mistake most likely to be quietly happening in your yard right now. Every leaf on the plant is producing energy through photosynthesis. That is not background information. That is the whole point. When you remove more than 1/3 of those leaves at once, the plant stops functioning normally. It stops pushing out new growth. Flower buds stop setting. Everything left goes toward keeping the roots and core alive. That recovery can last 2 to 4 years. The most common version plays out with an overgrown viburnum or burning bush. The shrub has gotten large. The homeowner cuts it back hard all at once, and then waits for it to fill back in. It does not. Not fully, and not quickly. The right approach is staged. Take out 1/3 of the oldest, largest stems in the first season, the same amount in the second. Finish in the third. The plant stays productive the entire time, and you reach the same result. 1/3 per session. 3 seasons if needed. That math works for every species, every size, every time of year. If you have a shrub that hasn't bloomed in years, or a tree that never bounced back after a hard cut, you now know what to look for. Almost all of it comes down to timing, technique, and one clean cut at the right spot. That part is fixable. If this video helped, hit like before you go, and drop the name of the plant you're struggling with in the comments.